So my guest today, or tonight, as you wish,
Yeah.
is Andy Timmons. Hello, Andy. Thank you very much for being here with me today.
Very happy to join you, Conrad. Hello, everybody. Worldwide, but especially in Poland, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Andy. So what are you working on at the moment?
All kinds of projects, some gear related and some obviously always music projects. I have a new record that I'm working on with my band, the Andy Timmons Band. Got several songs in the works for that. And I'm also collaborating again with the Bissonette brothers with a band we have called the Redcoats. We put out a record about 2 years ago, and now we're doing a follow-up to that. It's Greg Bissonette, great drummer, and his brother Matt, incredible bass player and singer and
Hmm.
writer, and Mike Medina. Yeah, so a lot of original projects like that. Uh,
Hmm.
always practicing, trying to get better. And I still have my instructional website called the guitarexperience.net, where I every month upload a new tune and basically teach every note, how to play these tunes that are in my catalog and all that. So very blessed to keep busy playing guitar.
As
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, try
Right.
to, try to, yeah.
So before this interview, I looked at your website to check the current list of the concerts, and it seems that actually nothing's scheduled yet. So
There you were very correct. Yeah.
yeah, are you
Since the
planning to to tour later on this year?
Yeah, I think so. We're probably going to at least do Southeast Asia. I'm going to do a couple weeks in Italy in July. To be honest,
All right.
I haven't been in a hurry to travel. Since the pandemic, I
Hmm.
recalibrated my life significantly. Obviously it was, a horrible time worldwide, but I really found that being home was more valuable than traveling, just for my family's sake.
Hmm.
Figuring out other ways I did a lot of live stream concerts. There's a platform called Stage It where I did two shows every weekend, every Saturday. I did over 160 shows during the pandemic just from my studio right here, where I would live stream and people could log on from anywhere in the world. And then it's 9 o'clock, I'm home. It's because I just walk
Hmm.
downstairs. So there was a real beauty to that. I mean, nothing replaces being in a room and feeling the energy of people and all that. And I do miss that. But again, I've been kind of dragging my feet and not saying yes quite yet. But again, I think we're going to ease in a little bit of work in Italy in the middle of the summer, Southeast Asia by the end of the year, and some more stuff in Europe. I especially want to visit Poland. I need to do a pilgrimage because my hero is Chopin,
Ah,
and
right.
I really want to visit all the sites that I can. That
Everyone recognizes Chopin, right?
I hope so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope so. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been really been learning a lot of his music. I'm going to record some Chopin. There's another record I have that I'm working on of solo pieces, and it's called well, it's going to be called Bitter Sweets, but there's a tune called Here Lies the Heart, which is a reference to Chopin's heart being interred
Mhm.
in the church there in Poland. But very, very moody solo pieces that, I've kind of written these things along the way in my career, but when I really started digging into Chopin's body of work, I just recognized that he was doing on such a deep level what I was trying to do. I was hearing things that he was doing in his writing, and just the right note at the right time over the right chord change that could just touch your heart deeper than any other composer that I know. I haven't experienced what I experienced with Frederick Chopin. And so I really made it a point to just try to listen to everything he ever wrote, and that's quite a bit of stuff. So especially fond of the nocturnes. I like the vibe of those pieces. I like the mood of it. And so that'll be a lifelong quest, reaching
Oh
reaching
yeah.
for reaching for that bar, but it's I'm so glad that I can't say discovered because he's
Hmm.
always been there. He's been waiting for me. But happy to be, more experienced now, and that's nurturing a bunch of music that, I'm currently writing. I've got about 20 of these pieces that I need to really dig in and start, committing to recording. So, but I've just been enjoying the process of writing, and again, just kind of going for that type of feel and emotion and in the music itself.
And what do you do? What else do you do when you're not on tour? Is there any, any place for anything else than guitar in your daily activities, let's say?
It's my life is music. To be honest, this question has come up my entire life in interviews, and
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes sheepishly say, well, I'm kind of boring because music is it. But I realize, well, there's no shame in that. Some people are into sports or whatever kind of manly things there might be, but I just don't have any interest outside of music. So if it's not specifically guitar, it's just I'm a avid, record collector and just a fan of music. So if I'm not working on my own music, I'm very likely absorbing and
Mm-hmm.
being a fan of all kinds of music. But I just love pop music from the 60s and 70s. Recently, I'm a big Tom Petty fan, so there's a Sirius XM channel that just plays nothing but his music. So I've been kind of on a path, listening to a bunch of that. I happen to be working with his old drummer Stan Lynch, who was an original Heartbreaker. He and I have been writing songs together and recording, so it's kind of fun to be a part of that world too, not just the guitar virtuoso world, which I love dearly, but I just love a good song. And Tom was really special with his deceptively simple. The chord structures could be very simple, the lyrics could be very simple, but they had a very emotional depth to them that I don't find in many singer
Mm-hmm.
songwriters. I mean, so he's just one of the greats. So I might be listening to Beatles at any given point, or heavy jazz, whatever it might be. I love the jazz world as well. So I just love absorbing all these things, but that truly is my life. I mean, and I trust me, there's never a dull moment.
Yeah.
I'm not feel like I'm missing anything. I mean, I try to get out, enjoy nature and all that, just like any human being, because you need that balance. You can't just sit in a room and practice guitar all day.
Sure
That's not
thing.
that,
But
that's not healthy. That's not healthy
still,
at
it's
all.
a nice way of dedication, let's say, right?
Yeah, and the more artists that I, learn about their path and their history, they're not very different than me.
Mm-hmm.
There tends to be a pretty obsessive nature with anybody that achieves any level of achievement in any field, whatever it might be. You get computers or whatever, but certainly musicians, chances are, if they're at a very high level of ability, they've more than been obsessive about it, and
Mm-hmm.
are just driven to continue to improve. And that, I mean, look no further than Jeff Beck. No, though he certainly had, obviously he had a wide variety of interests. It's well known that he was into cars, and he was quite an advocate also for helping wildlife and these things. But the fact that he just kind of kept, as a musician, just refused to stay on a plateau. He was always pushing himself, and he kept growing. And I find that immensely inspiring. The fact that he started in the mid 60s with some great stuff with the Yardbirds, some really inventive feedback, and really, a year before Hendrix was off into that
Mm-hmm.
world a little bit, and Jimmy definitely took note. Um, but this kept going, the Jeff Beck group, and then the Jan Hammer kind of fusion stuff. But then when he got to, recording Where Were You on Guitar Shop, that was a landmark thing when he was really fine tuning his whammy work. But for me, the culmination was the 2010 Emotion and Commotion record. I just thought he just reached a pinnacle of emotive guitar playing that's rarely been achieved, if ever. So he's a hero, man. And that's a
Yeah,
that's a major loss for all of us.
absolutely.
But
But so maybe let's stay a bit with your style of playing, because
sure.
although it involves a lot of sophisticated technique, let's say, it is still very much melodic.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
as a guitar player, what kind of skills you need to develop to be able to write melodic things and implement them into instrumental compositions?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all of us as guitar players, we learn very guitar-y things as as
Hmm.
as we're as we're beginning. We tend to play a lot of the pentatonic. And of course, great melody can come from that vocabulary. But I think for me, along the way, I think I had a valuable foundation in that it was purely 60s pop. I mean, especially the Beatles.
Hmm.
So if you think about, writers of great melody, they certainly have a track record. They're known for having written some really great melodies, and it's true. Um, and so eventually I think, I love shred players, I love virtuosos, but boy, do I love it when Yngwie slows down a bit and plays a bit melodic. And of course I always dug the ballads that Steve Lukather were playing, Larry Carlton, those, and Pat Metheny, another really great creator of melodies, Wes Montgomery in the jazz world, extremely creative and melodic. But Pat in particular in the jazz world just has such a flow and a shape to his melodies and the way he develops things. So as far as incorporating the melodies in instrumental guitar music, um, I definitely, I know that my study of jazz actually helped a lot, even though my melodies aren't necessarily saying, hey, this is jazz. But what jazz did for me was it really, because you're moving, you can be moving through a lot of chord changes, right? And so you can sometimes think globally of a key and play scales, but then it's just kind of, now you're just gonna, do I get lucky or not? Is it going to be a cool note or not? So you really have to start to understand and navigate each chord on its own. Like if I'm just gravitating to B minor, so as I'm just kind of noodling there, I'm aware of each note, whether subconsciously or consciously. Is it a chord tone or is it a non-chord tone? So it's the root, third, fifth. Those are all very solid. Especially that third, of course, that's what defines the harmony of the chord. Any other note in the scale? Well, that second scale degree, that's a very evocative note because it's not a basic triad chord tone, and it wants to go somewhere. I really want to hear that resolve. It's got that nice. Maybe wants to go to the next chord tone above it, or to the chord tone below it. There, I did both.
Now I'm feeling like I'm attending an exclusive guitar lesson.
Well, okay. So these are fairly simple concepts, but at the same time can be a little advanced depending on where you are in your studies. So if I have a chord progression that's, let's say that B minor, then it goes to whatever it might be, just E7 for lack of anything interesting at the moment. You're going to hear me at some point when it gets to that E. So I landed on a G sharp, and that's purely because that's the third of that E7 chord. It could all be an E, like it all could be in the key of B Dorian. But if over that B chord of E, so there's some of it for me is almost a melodic connect the dots. There's certain tones I will want to hear, quite possibly, not always. It doesn't have to always have to be there, but there is kind of a guiding. I'm going to be flowing through notes of those chords tied together melodically. That way the listener, in that melody has a very good sense of the harmony, whether the bass and if they're hearing anything else. So even in composition or even in improvisation, those chord tones is what's really my guidepost throughout all the navigation. Now, eventually you don't have to think about it because your ear just kind of guides you, and the more connectivity you have with your instrument, with the more experience and as you really learn the guitar neck, so that's where a lot of melody comes from. But also, it's the silly thing to say, but learn melodies. Whatever melodies touch you, make a point to find it on the guitar, because you want to play more melodically. Learn some melodies, kind of figure out what is it about God Only Knows by the Beach Boys that is special to you, or if for me, that's a personal one for me. But whatever song that you think, wow, what a great melody. And it could be from the classical world. It could be from a pop tune on the radio, wherever it might be. I did a tribute show I did a show Saturday for the Stage It platform, where I was kind of giving tribute to. There's been so many that have passed away recently. Both I have some personal friends, but also Jeff Beck and, Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac and Elvis. I mean Burt Bacharach, who's one of the great pop melody writers of all time. And there was a song that he co-wrote with Elvis Costello called "God Give Me Strength," and the opening melody, it's over a B minor. And that to me is just one of my favorite melodies I've ever heard. And it just, there's that ninth, but then it goes to a G chord and then to a D chord. Over the G and the D, it's just purely chord tones. But it's that intervallic. So root 2 3. Simple, yet I hadn't heard anything quite like it. It made me feel something. So I want to know what that is, So go to your instrument, and even if it's just, don't feel like you have to learn an entire song. It's handy, but even if it's just a little bit, it's going to take you outside of, or whatever, you make modal, scalar, whatever your level of knowledge is. Those are just, scales are a wonderful vehicle to learn your instrument, and certain scalar things can be really effective. Some really fast scalar stuff can sound amazing, great patterns, but it's that's, to me, those are just merely like, oh, there's where the notes are. Now I got to find the right ones. that's the melody. That's the key of tension and release. Finding those moments where you can really make a statement. And not just have it be impressive technically. Now, on the technical side, beyond, if you're fluid with, hybrid picking or legato or alternate picking, that's all great, and you got to work on that. That's part of our palette to paint from as a guitar player. But the stuff that's really important is that, can you bend that note really in tune, and can you find that center of this? I call it the center of the pitch. Not this. Okay. Not just me calling it. Because you're never going to make that note sound great unless it's in tune. That Tommy Emmanuel once said that to me. Andy, separates the men from the boys. It's tuning, and he's right. He's like, and the guitar is a messed up instrument. It's not a perfect instrument, but especially when it comes to the relationship our fingers have with the fretboard. If you press too hard, you play sharp really quickly. So learning how to play pure notes. Sometimes I like to get just right below. To be able to bend a note in tune and don't add vibrato.
So, it's very interesting, because actually many young people like myself, almost 17 years ago, when they start their guitar journey from the very beginning, they often want to, play very fast, learn all these breakneck techniques, forgetting at the same time, about all other important elements, like finding melodies, like making the sounds and chords fit nicely together, right? So, back in time, I would tell you that I would rather prefer to be, Paul Gilbert from Racer X times.
Absolutely.
Rather
who wouldn't want to be that? Who wouldn't want to be that guy?
Yeah, rather than, for example, David Gilmour, right?
Sure. Well, that's youth, and that's. And that can last you your whole life. That may be what you love, and if that is truly what you love, and you don't really care about Gilmour or playing in tune or having a good vibrato, that's okay. I'm not saying that about Paul. That clearly he bends in tune and has great vibrato, but in general, the younger players may not have that developed yet. But you got to have fun. We all got into it. For me, I growing up, in another generation from you, so it was just 70s rock. I had Ace Frehley was my hero early on, and just straight rock, blues rock players. But yeah, when Eddie Van Halen comes, and then Yngwie after him, and then Satriani and Vai, and like you say, Paul Gilbert, these guys raised the bar significantly.
The rules of the game changed, right?
It really just really Well, again, it just like Beck, there's the bar just kind of keeps putting on higher rungs, So, or Alan Holdsworth, you got in Sean Lane. There's otherworldly abilities, and of course, there's so many young players now too that have great and incredible chops. So, you got to have fun. The speed thing, absolutely. I wish I had more higher gears. I can I can get speedy a little bit here and there, and I enjoy it. But yeah, I think as your taste might become more defined with age, I'll be turning 60 this July. Over time, your goals might change. Your tastes, and it's all good. I still love shred. I got to go hang with Marty Friedman a couple of nights ago because he's my son who's 19 who's playing. Marty's one of his all-time favorite guitar players, and I hadn't paid as much attention to the Megadeth years and all that. But through my son, I've been going back and listening to the stuff, and Marty's absolutely brilliant. He's just really unique. He's from that shred generation and that world, but man, he's different too. And the stuff he's doing now is really creative, very, very Japanese in nature. Of course, he's lived in that country now for 20 years. So
I've been struggling with, Tornado of Souls for years, and
that's what my son's working on. Yeah.
it's a pure nightmare, to be honest. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
I tell you what, and I've been around Marty a few times over the years because he was kind of an Ibanez guy for a bit, and as so I got to spend about my son and I and my son's drummer from his band. We got to hang with Marty for about an hour, just chilling,
Mhm.
and we left the hotel where Marty was staying, and my son goes, I think that's the coolest human being I've ever met. I thought that was. And I said, you're not wrong, buddy. That's a very good dude. He's just a real chill human being, and also has a thirst for new things. In fact, he reminded me when I was telling him I dug his new rap, like, what are you talking about? I said, well, last time we were together, which was like 10 years ago, he said, I asked you to show me a lick and you did, and I've been playing it ever since. I'm like, I don't remember that part, but it was very sweet. So we it's not nice, you, it's nice when you run into someone like that from all kinds of different types of players,
Mhm.
different moods, different tones. And the key throughout life is to not get overwhelmed with it, not to be discouraged, because it's easy, man. You can pull out your phone and go on Instagram and go, I suck. Because these guys in their bedrooms all over the world that are just tearing it up. And I love it. I absolutely love it. But it's also you can easily quickly go, oh man, I can't play anything like that. But all we can do is just realize we're only going to be us. I'll never sound
Mhm.
like Holdsworth. I'll never sound like Beck. But it took me a while in my life to get to the point where I recognized that it's okay. I don't have to be them. They're already the best them that we need. I just need to keep working on the things that I do and try to nurture that and honor whatever gift I have, to keep working on just my basic ability, just to keep those fundamentals going and try to build on that, and just to write, hopefully write some
Mhm.
good music that means something to people.
So,
That's the goal for me.
if we like scroll through your discography, we can find a lot of not only melodic elements, not only funky bluesy elements, but also very much
Mm.
jazzy elements, I would say. And you also don't hide the fact that you're
Ah,
inspired by
yeah.
many jazz players, like for example Pat Metheny, right? Would you consider doing
Yes, yes,
a
yes, yes.
pure jazz album, like a bit in the style of Virtuoso, let's say by Joe Pass? So just uh, only you with the
Yeah.
hollow body
I don't
guitar and nothing else.
well, that would be very bold of me. I think that if and when I think I will do a straight ahead record, it
Hmm.
could be a hollow body guitar, because I do play in that style. But I don't think I have the vocabulary of a Joe Pass to really pull off. I could probably work on a nice piece,
Hmm.
because I love that kind of chord melody playing. I absolutely love it. And having learned that over the years really helped me by the time I got to like the Resolution record, when I was playing a lot of, you know, melody and chords together. So it's kind of the same thing, from having learned, Joe Passes. You know, I did a good bit of that and still love to learn bits here and there from Wes. And Joe was the master of that. Just seemed like effortless, endless ideas and
Mhm.
vocabulary. So, but straight ahead, it would likely be like just acoustic bass, light drums, and guitar. We'll see. We'll see. But I do see myself at least getting something like that at some point. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun
Would you say that there
for
is
sure.
truth in this saying that no matter how skilled you are and what level you're on, you can never be satisfied actually with the current level you're in?
I think that those that are truly driven to be as great as they can be, that is a common feeling. And it's
Yeah.
sometimes not sometimes it's not easy to go through that emotionally,
Hmm.
because it's basically a constant state of unhappiness in a way, you know, but that's what precipitates change, is the unwillingness to accept the current state of things, the status quo. You might be at a level where some people go, "Oh my God, I'd give anything to play like that." But in your soul, in your heart, that, oh, I'm just scratching the surface.
Hmm.
And I've said that for so many years. And I just happen to go back. I'll bring up Jeff Beck again because I just would watch this interview from 2010 when he released that Emotion and Commotion record, the one that I really considered a pinnacle record in his career. And he said the same thing. The interviewer was like, "What? How does it feel now to be getting all this recognition and adulation?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, well, I'm just scratching the surface." He said the exact same words that I've been feeling, and I think that, like, Eric Johnson would say the same thing.
Hmm.
Any player, like I say, that reaches a certain level, they know more than ever that they're just beginning. It's truly, it's a humbling thing to know that there's just always so much more to do. Now, some people might reach a certain level and go, "Yeah, this is great. I'm happy." And that's beautiful too. There's zero wrong with being happy and just having fun, because that's the main thing. But if you can, for me, it was finding the balance of just enough of the recognition to be unhappy about it, but to also enjoy the process. And that comes with daily practice. And it took me a while to kind of acclimate to that, because there were years in
Hmm.
my career where I was always playing because there was always gigs coming up, or a tour, and but I wasn't the guy I was when I was in school, when I was really transcribing and really pushing myself in that way. And
Hmm.
when I finally got back to doing that after many, many years, I started to recognize that's what really makes me happy. Sometimes happier than recording a great piece of music, or sometimes happier than playing a great show. Sometimes it's just practicing, and it's playing purely for myself. First thing in the morning, I'll get my coffee, I'll go to my office, I'll get my little tone going and play. And a lot of times it's jazz standards, just to get the brain working, the melodic ear going, and the fingers going. And if I do that first thing every day, um, and then hopefully, obviously, if I'm going to work on a piece of music or learn something new, if I can do that every day, consistently, I'm a happier human being, just because I know that I'm nurturing this thing that I've been blessed to do for my entire life. It's not everybody has this passion that you and I have, for the music, for the guitar. We're very, very fortunate to have this. So why not honor it on the highest level that you can and really dedicate some time? It's real easy these days to be distracted.
Oh yeah,
I've noticed it
absolutely.
with I've noticed with my own brain, as I'm practicing sometimes in the morning, it might be age too, because as you age, maybe the brain isn't as sharp as it was, in your 20s and 30s. But I really think it's just the inundation of information that is, checking your phone. I got to check my email. What if I got to post on socials? There can be all these. There's so many more distractions in a human's life than there was 15 years ago. Our feeble little brains we haven't evolved enough I don't, at least mine hasn't, to handle all this, right? So I'm just starting to recognize that I need to find that balance, and try to figure out a way of weaning away a little bit from some of these things and just really focus on the stuff that matters. That's my goal.
As we still have some time, if we can stay a bit with your latest album, which is Electric Truth.
Yes, absolutely.
I wanted to ask, because I need to confess that probably the last 100 streams on Spotify of this album is probably me looping your album.
Oh, wow.
And
every
time,
I hope you enjoy it.
yeah, very much. And every
you,
time the intros for E.W.F or Say What You Want kicks in, then
Yeah.
my 2-year-old son comes to the room and he starts grooving to these songs. Yeah, like bending his head and knees.
All right.
Just doing it to the rhythm. And
That's
I
beautiful.
wanted to ask, would you agree that every human being has this, let's say, primal instinct for being able to identify, groove in songs? Because he's just 2-year-old. He cannot understand music at this point.
Of course, no. I think it is because I would hear stories of myself, when they would play music, and I'd be bouncing in the crib, or rocking myself to sleep in time. There'd be a groove happening. So I'm assuming it's very natural for most human beings. Most people they hear music and they want to move. It's I'm always blown away. There's I'll sometimes marvel at. It doesn't matter what kind of music's playing. I'm going to find a way to participate. I've always been either tapping my foot or keeping time. Sometimes I click my teeth subconsciously in time, or like especially at concert. But I see some people just kind of not moving. Or like, what? How can you not? Need to feel this? But it's also something that I realized that I was just further fortifying my time feel by any time there was it could be the windshield wipers, it could be the clock ticking, any kind of music. I'm probably subdividing against that pulse or feeling time with it. And it's just something I did subconscious my entire life, but realizing, well, that certainly helps me when the instrument's in my hands, so it's not a bad thing to, if it's not happening naturally, maybe think about, well, maybe I should just tap my foot a bit more, because I'm a proponent of that too. I'm usually some body part is moving while I'm playing, not everybody's like that, but it seems to help me. Some people like it to be completely internalized, but that part of my soul wants to move. It wants to be, demonstrative of time and feel that with whatever's going on,
And if you want, not only listen to someone grooving, but if you want to make it yourself on the guitar, how important is the right hand as well as the string attack practice?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's everything.
That's everything, right?
It's not, I guess at least my generation, a lot of us probably started on the acoustic guitar, playing simple. But that right hand.
Oh, Andy, I'm afraid I lost your video.
Oh no. Okay, so there's a problem.
But no worries.
The camera overheats. I can hold on. Don't give up.
I can still hear you, so that's okay.
Okay. I'll put a fan on it. Yeah, I got to get a new camera. It overheats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Let's see. It should turn back on. Let's see how long this. Put a fan on it. Might be a little noisy.
Yeah, now I can see you.
Yeah, the last broadcast I did, I just kept a fan on it and it stayed on. So, but I was afraid the noise might be annoying, but it doesn't seem too bad. Let's see how long it lasts. But that right hand, is it okay? You watch Stevie Ray. He's attacking all 6 strings and then with the muting with the left hand. But he's playing that kind of thing. but so having a great, you know, ability of playing rhythm guitar helps everything because it's solidifying the time. And as guitar players, you know, if you're going to work with any band, you're not going to be playing solos the whole time. So you better, you know, just know how to, whatever. I'm just, you know. Be able to have a good groove and really, you know, be able to lock in with the rhythm section. There's a real art to that. But again, I think it just came from because I played acoustic guitar early, always have some kind of groove. Even if there's no music, if I'm walking down the street, it's going to be in time and I'm thinking of a song. It's just silly things like that I've just done my whole life that I think has overall helped solidify whatever time feel that I do have. You know, not perfect by any stretch, but you know, it's fairly strong. Yeah.
All right. I think we're running out of time actually, because my Zoom version only allows me, you know, to host meetings for 30 minutes.
Well, at least we got the camera to work for the final bit, but
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be back in Poland before too long. I think the last time I was there was in Bochnia.
Uh-huh.
It's been a while, but I'll come and I need to do a Chopin pilgrimage and play some gigs.
I don't remember which year it was, but I remember that once you visited one of the guitar centers here in my city, in Łódź, in central Poland.
Oh, maybe so. Was it just a clinic tour or was that
Yeah,
with a band?
it was a kind of
Oh, okay.
you know, the regular tour with concerts plus clinic. But
Okay.
I need to
Oh,
check which year it was.
there was one in Poland that my band did. It was the music store wasn't even open yet. It was almost opened. I don't know if it was Guitar Center or what it was,
Yeah,
but
it was. So probably
I
this was it.
remember being a pretty
Yeah, probably it was that.
that might have been it. Like we, you know, and something went wrong with my switching system. It was one of those. But we got everything to work, and you know, it was still a good time. I think we did okay. But that's been a while. That was back probably 2007, 2008, something like that, maybe.
Probably yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I've been
think I
back a
was a
couple of times
teenager
since
then.
then. Yeah, maybe I came twice since then. Once in Bochnia, like I say, and then maybe another clinic or something. I remember doing some press there in Poland. But hopefully again soon. And it's nice to meet you, Conrad. I appreciate the good questions and
Yeah, really
be
nice
sure
to
to
meet you too.
be sure to email me so I can share the link and
Yeah, sure,
spread it
sure,
around a little bit.
sure. We'll do.
Yeah.
Hopefully it all recorded fine. Yeah. Thank you very
Okay.
much for this interview.
Let me know if there's any problem. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Cheers. Thanks, Conrad. Thanks, man.
Cheers. Thanks very
Okay.
much.
Okay. Bye
Have
bye.
a great day. Bye bye.
You too. You too.